Technical difficulties. 1 minute, folks. Yes, you're going to hear music in the background because I'm one of those autistics that have to have some kind of noise or I'll start creeping myself out. So I'm going to apologize for that in advance. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And since it is Saturday, we are going back to Medicaid, which every time I think I'm getting ready to wrap up the series, something else pops up as we do these videos that says, no, I'm not. So, before we get into it, brief disclaimer, everything that we have been covering in regards to the Medicaid series, all of sources of information are linked right there in the description box for you. So should you like to deep dive the subject on your own, you'll definitely be able to do so. Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. First of all, I use profanity. I use profanity a lot. And also, some of the topics that we cover on this channel can be particularly triggering. So if you got a child that is 16 and younger and they're watching this, parental supervision is advised. Other trigger warning. I really don't care what political affiliation that you have. But don't. Brass tacks when it comes to dealing specifically with us disabled folks. Both parties have dropped the ball so horrendously and on so many different occasions and have stabbed us in the back so many times and only given us token effort so many times. That more than likely, as we go through the Medicaid series, I'm probably going to say something that may offend you, like these people who are voting on, the right to remove even more money out of Medicaid have no idea what Medicaid is all about, no clue what that Medicaid funding goes to, nor the clue of how many lives they're getting ready to ruin. So that's why I'm here, folks, to remind them, as I always do. I am the canker in the heart of the rose when it comes to people like this. I'm just going to continue to sit there and slowly poison the whole thing until, they actually start living up to some of their promises. Neither here nor there, you may be offended. If you can't handle that civilly, whatever comments you put will be removed and you will be blocked. This is a place for civil discussion and debate, not insults. This is not preschool. And I am way too cranky to be some form of remedial teacher or life coach. So, alright. Alright, so we were getting ready to financial eligibility rules and options. Now, I thought this really didn't have anything to do with us until I started scrolling down. So we're going to go ahead and start it here. Overview of Medicaid financial eligibility. Some of this we've already gone through. We've gone through the general rule and exceptions, SSI rules and Medicaid exceptions. Eligibility expansion options including but not specific to home and community services. Now we've gone over the HCBS waiver, but this has to do, there's a couple of options. The 100% poverty option or the medically needy option. So we're going to read through this and then we're going to go through what each of these are. So I'm going to go below here. And this is the next one. Eligibility expansion options that can be targeted to persons needing home and community services. State supplemental payments. We've gone over supplemental security income. 300% of SSI income rule. That I am not quite sure what that is, but we'll take a look. And of course we have in here spousal impoverishment. Provisions specific to children with disabilities, Selby Children, Katie Beckett option, reducing financial barriers for persons with disabilities. We've gone over that as well. So, Now we're going to go ahead and start grabbing some details, right? So, what is the 100% of poverty option? Let's find out. Alright, so what this is, folks, according to AI, the 100% of poverty option is a reference to the federal poverty level, also known as the FPL, the minimum income standard used to determine eligibility for various government assistance programs. When your household income is at or below 100% of the FPL, you may qualify for certain benefits, particularly related to health care. How the poverty level is used in health insurance. The FPL is crucial for determining eligibility for health insurance subsidies under the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid. However, the specific rules depend on your state. In Medicaid expansion states, adults with incomes at or below 138% of the FPL may qualify for Medicaid based on income alone. One of my former roommates actually qualified for Medicaid simply based off of that. Those with higher incomes may get subsidies through the health insurance marketplace. In non-expansion states, adults with incomes between 100 and 400% of the FPL can get subsidies on the marketplace. In this case, the 100% of poverty option refers to the floor for receiving these premium tax credits. People below 100% of the FPL in these states fall into a coverage gap and may not qualify for either Medicaid or marketplace subsidies. So it's something to look at there. Now there's a few other programs that also use the FPL. What they're looking at specifically when we're talking about the type of poverty levels that they are talking about in regards to getting you some extra help to cover healthcare costs. If you're a single person, $15,650. Family of two is $21,150. 3 people can get on Medicaid together, $26,650. 4 for $32,150. For each additional person at $5,500 to be able to qualify. So, as you can see there, you may be able to get additional help if you fall under one of these categories. Now, we're going to go ahead and go back real quick, and we are going to be taking a look at the other one as well. That is the medically needy option. We're going to take a look at this as well. Alright, so what is the medically needy option? So, it's a state option under Medicaid that allows individuals and families to qualify for Medicaid by using their incurred medical expenses to spend down their income and or assets to a state-established income limit. It is designed for people whose incomes are too high for other Medicaid pathways, but who have substantial medical costs that reduce their income to an affordable level, ensuring they can receive necessary care, especially long care services. In other words, you are desperate, you know you need it, but Medicaid won't cover it, so this would kick in to help offset some of that cost in case you can't get access to Medicaid any other way or Medicaid won't cover something entirely. So here's how it works. You spend down your income by incurring or paying for necessary medical and remedial services such as Medicare premiums, doctor visits, prescriptions, or home health care. Budget period. You must spend down to a state-determined medically needed income limit, also known as the MNIL, within a specific spend-down budget period which can range from 6 months. Proof of expenses. You need to show proof of these incurred medical expenses to the state agency. Essentially, it's like a payoff plan, where you pay so much over a certain set determined amount of months to offset costs of whatever Medicaid won't cover, or if you don't get a chance to get access to Medicaid. I've been on one granted, it was the skeleton version of this, like way back in the day. I didn't like it all that much because everything was still too damn expensive. And at that time, I was having difficulties because I was stuck in the forever, never ending call center roulette where you get passed between the three major call centers in town. So that wouldn't have necessarily benefited me, but there's quite a few individuals that it probably would. Of course, we know who it helps. But yes, that's what those two things are. So, part of the things that they are cutting away as they are taking out billions of dollars out of Medicaid is people who have access to programs like the poverty option or the medically needy option when they really, really need life-saving medicine. Now, let's move down to the next one. We're going to be looking at just one of these, and then we'll go into the different ones for the kids too. So, we've gone over supplemental security income until our eyeballs tore off. So, we are going to pull up specifically 300% of the SSI income rule. Okay, so this in particular refers to an optional Medicaid eligibility pathway that allows states to extend coverage to individuals who require an institutional level of care, such as those in nursing homes or receiving community-based services, and whose income is up to 300% of the Supplemental Security Income Federal Benefit Rate, also known as FBR. This rule is designed to help individuals with higher incomes who still need significant long-term care support to qualify for Medicaid, which is actually great for those of us individuals who wouldn't traditionally actually qualify for Medicaid because we are, as they would put it, considered not disabled enough, but we can't really afford to live while having insurance either. That's been a major problem because Medicaid has been the literal gatekeeper service when it comes to access to funding to get into any of these provider services, like through ARC, like through Nova, or through Univine, or Abilities First. Any of those provider agencies, back in the day, if you did not get qualified for Medicaid before they put those options in there, you were SOL. You got no access, you got shut out. And they really, at that time, didn't really allow for insurance to cover those services. But also, you could pay out of pocket. Pay on scale is what they call it, but even that is insane. I know some of you guys live in different states where they like $60 a pop doesn't sound like a lot, but if you like live out here, yes it is. You have no idea how many meals that would have bought at some place like Dollar Tree. And I was pretty down and out at the time. Let's just say I was not living on the fun side of town. But anyways, I do think that covers it for Medicaid, folks. I feel like this is a good place to go ahead and close out. We'll take a look at those two kid programs real quick. We're going to check the Zeppeli children real quick. Alright, so we're going to read what this does. The Social Security Act authorizes the payment of supplemental security income benefits to, inter alios, a child who suffers from impairment of comparable severity. page 493 U.S. 522. We're going to read that here. To one that would render an adult disabled. An adult is disabled if he is prevented from engaging in any substantial gainful activity by reason of medically determinable physical or mental impairments. Petitioner Secretary of Health and Human Services has created a 5-step test to determine adult disability. Dear God, if RFK Jr. doesn't stop wrecking crap. At the test's third step, a claimant may be found to be disabled if medical evidence of his impairment matches or is equal to one of the listing impairments presumed severe enough to preclude any gainful activity, thus making further inquiry unnecessary. How, since the listing's medical criteria are more restrictive than the statutory disability standard, an adult claimant who does not qualify at the third step may do so after showing at the fourth and fifth steps that he cannot engage in his past work or other work in the economy, given his age, education, and work experience. In contrast, the Secretary's test for determining whether a child claimant is disabled ends if the claimant cannot show that his impairment matches or is equal to a listed impairment, there being no further inquiry corresponding to the final vocational steps of the adult test. Respondent Zebley, a child who was denied SSI benefits, brought a class action in the district court challenging the child disability regulations. The court granted summary judgment for the Secretary. The Court of Appeals vacated the judgment in part, finding the regulatory scheme to be inconsistent with the Act because the listings-only approach does not account for all impairments of comparable severity and denies child claimants the individual functional assessment that the statutory standard requires and that the Secretary provides to adults. See, even with federal government, you see what I mean? You're not even allowed to get into services without having that done. And it looks like my state is not the only one that is set up that way. So the big question becomes, who the hell is guiding these poor parents? Is it anybody? Anybody? Sorry, but it bugs me. But I think this makes it pretty explanatory in regards to what that rule is. And folks, that kind of really covers it for our Medicaid series. We're going to go ahead and get that closed out. It has been a pleasure to sit here with you guys and go through in depth Medicaid and how the Medicaid funding works. Also explaining how it interacts with some of the other different parts of benefits such as Section 8 and Supplemental Security Income. And now we all have an idea of exactly the house of cards that this current administration is going to tumble come January because of their abomination of a bill. So folks, stay vigilant, especially right now. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on, but I don't want that crazy stuff to distract you from keeping your eye on the ball. Because I promise you, those sneaky bastards, and yes, I mean every single last one of them, are going to try to get shit put in behind our backs while we're distracted by this Epstein and all the other badness going on. Do not take your eye off the ball. Do not allow these people to distract you. If you do, that's how things go sideways real quick. Alright? We're going to close on that one, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So if you all would be so kind, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. And double check to make sure that you are still set up to receive notifications. We are going to be continuing, of course, our Down the Rabbit Hole series. We're going to be finishing up on the HIPAA and Advanced Directive series come next week as well. And we're going to get started with a new one on snake oil salesmen and what that has to do with the anti-vaxxers. A long storied history. The reason why this is going to be separate from that series is because it is its own deep rabbit hole with its own very colorful history, which is why it deserves its own kind of separate series there. So we're going to be starting on that one. We're going to stick with 2 series for right now, unless our government decides to do something else stupid. I appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you later.